When you create your first Android Hello World app, let's take a look at all the various components that is of importance in an Android app. So to begin with, ensure that this drop down is at Android, and then open this app that you see, and then you will see several folders: manifest, Java, generated Java, and RES. Out of all these folders, the three most important ones that we typically change are the RES folder, the Java folder, and the manifest. So in the manifest, you will see the Android manifest.xml. So this is an XML file which contains all the components that make up your Android app. So this is at the heart of your Android application. All the components are described here. So the main important component is the application component, which contains an activity. So you see the application has the start tag, which starts here, and it is having an end tag here, and in between it has one activity component. And this activity component that you see is the main activity, and it also has an intent filter, which is having action as main and category as launcher. And because this main activity has this intent filter, this is the activity that opens up whenever the user clicks on the application icon that is seen on their Android device. So when you click on the icon on the Android device, the activity that you see here is described inside this Java folder. So if you come to this Java folder, you have three packages here: com application, my application, and same with the same name, and you have an Android test and another one called test. And of course, this package that you see, you could have potentially changed that and made it a different one. This is the default package that gets created when you're creating your application. If you gave a different name here, then the package that you would see here would be different. So if you now open this, the main activity that you see here, that's the one which is described here in this Android manifest. So whatever the activity component is added into this Android manifest, and that's what is shown here. So this is the next most important file that you should be seeing. And when you open this file, you see that public class main activity extends app compat activity. So it is app compat activity here because when we created the activity, I went with the defaults, which what it means to say is that your app, Android app that you're building, is going to be backward compatible with many other devices which are below the API level that you chose. So we're not going to worry about that right now, but the point here to note is that it can be app compat activity or it can just be activity, it doesn't matter, but it has to be one of these two only. Either you can have that as an activity or you can have that as an app compat activity, but it has to be one of those two, and this extends keyword is absolutely required. So what does that mean? What it means is all the activities that you write in Android application is going to override the top level activity. Now when you look into the methods of this class, you will see this onCreate method which is overridden. So what you see here, this line is called an annotation. So this annotation is an override annotation. What it means to say is that this onCreate method that you are using here is overriding the superclasses onCreate method. So if you put this method, even if you don't put this override annotation, it still overrides. It still overrides the superclass. Except if you put the annotation during compile time, it's going to check your method signature with that of the superclass to see if it is really overriding. So basically putting an annotation saves you from making any errors. It will save you from making a mistake in writing your method signature, because sometimes you may be assuming that you are overriding, but in essence you may actually be overloading, and such kind of mistakes are avoided if you write this annotation, in which case the compiler will check and see if it is truly overriding, and if it is not, it's going to give you a error. Now let's look into this onCreate method. So the onCreate method itself is taking this bundle as its argument, one and only one argument, that is the bundle, and then it is calling the supers onCreate method, which basically does nothing, and then it's calling the set content view, which is taking in an argument which is r.layout.activityMain. So this Java class, you're setting a content view for it, and the view is sitting in this r.layout.activityMain. So where is that sitting? To find that, you have to open this res. Res folder stands for resources. Basically, R is equivalent to res here. So r.layout. So you have this layout here. Open this layout, and then activity main. So you see an activity main.xml, and notice that the XML is missing, but this translates to this. Activity main that you see translates to activity main.xml. So if you double click that, you will see the XML file which makes up your view of the activity. And all it has here is a text view. And to begin with, you will see this as hello world. This is what you would see if you didn't do any changes to it. So all it has is one text view, and the text of that is hello world, and that's what you see in this XML file. Now if you run your app, it will try and find the emulator that you've created, and then it will deploy your application emulator. See, whenever it's doing its work, you will see this waiting for the target device to come online. Watch out for all of these messages, because this is where you will see what's going on. Sometimes you'll be like wondering what's going on, it's taking too much time. Well, it's doing some work, so that will be shown here in the bottom. And then once it finishes, your app is now downloaded to this emulator, and you see hello world here. Now supposing you want to change this hello world to hi there, and since you're only making changes to this XML file and nothing else has changed, you can use this Thunderbolt icon that you see here to apply your changes. So this is a faster way of building that can be used when you did not change your manifest file. See, we did not tamper this manifest file now. Manifest file remains the same. It has one activity, but all we did is change this layout file and change the small text. And whenever you change this layout file, or whenever you make some small changes to your Java class without touching the Android manifest, then you can use this Thunderbolt, and it's going to be faster. So again, to do a recap, we ignore these two packages. We ignore this generated Java. Generated Java is for all the class files that it generates once it compiles. So we don't touch this at all. So we don't touch this folder. For now, we are going to ignore these two. These are for writing the test cases. And all we are going to focus on is the layout file and the Java folder and the manifest whenever you're adding components. And there are some build scripts. This folder also we'll ignore for now. And we may be tampering with the values. Values folder has colors.xml, strings.xml, and styles. And we'll understand more about this going forward. So we'll be doing some changes here as required. But for the most part, we are focusing on the layout, on the Java, and on the manifest whenever you want to add components.